part of the thing that we impose here, so that our student will know about what the strategic direction and also what is the next thing and that happen, especially in the industry. And so don't worry, I'm not taking so much time here, and so I give the stage and to Professor Dr. Samsu Amri and for this. Okay, thank you.
Good morning. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I don't like this mic. I feel like I'm a singer rather than a lecturer. First of all, I must thank Dr. Wan for inviting me. Coming here is to see all my old friends here. And I remember when Tan Sri Azlan was here, you know, when he first came back. He was here in this GSB, and then we were talking about who's going to be the next VC, and it was him, the next VC. So it was quite interesting how historic this GSB has been, and we are waiting for our next VC. So you must know that I joined UKM on 7 May 1976. You kira lah how long I've been here. I'm older than some of the buildings here, okay? So, at least lah. Now, I'm always thinking about leadership, but not in the way the management school does. This is what it is, what makes us different, yeah? Because for me, growing up in a rural area, the notion of leadership is something else. It's not the one that we idealize in the way we run and the way the textbooks argue with you, yeah? And I think there's a lot more human component to the leadership rather than management component. These are the two things that I would like to separate, yeah? The human component, which is generally, you know, being an imam masjid is a leader too, but at the same time he's a gardener at a school. So how do you come to term all this? See, this is the reality we are facing. Eh? And if you are a leader, in one circumstance, you may not be another circumstance. This multiple notion of leaders is the one that we grew up with. Now, like the word entrepreneur originally we call them pirates. You know, people like James Cook, people like Vasco da Gama, we call them all pirates because they pillage and rob places. But if you see their biographies, you see that they are actually entrepreneurs. Their whole idea of doing it is for what? To explore the world where people haven't been. And that's what exactly you do, but you minimize and atomize it and call it management. But inside there is the key to the entrepreneurship, the spirit. So this is what you are looking at, this contradiction that you have no choice but to come to terms with, because I think as things get complicated, because I went to school during the colonial period, and then post-colonial and then post-DEB, so I have seen almost, not all, but some episodes of changing leadership in this country. Yeah? So I try always, as a sociologist, to make sense all this beyond the vicinity and beyond the physical spaces. Yeah? Because now with ICT, leadership requires a lot more than just meeting face to face. Yeah? And I think this is where, when COVID comes, we suddenly put on our lap this notion of online everything. When we put online everything, I was looking for a book called Leadership and Online, yeah? Which I can't find yet. So if I can find that, please tell me, yeah? Because all this came as a shock. Even the Airbus CEO can't handle this, yeah? because he knows he cannot make aeroplane anymore. So I think these are the things, that the episodes and the period in my life that I've seen leadership in various forms, not in the more specific form that you learn, which I understand is very useful also in the long run, to organize yourself more than anything, and also to organize ideas. See, the whole idea of leadership is competing ideas among different people and who can come up with the best idea and so on and so forth. These are things that naturally happen while you play football with your sarung on in the kampung. You compete, you compete among yourselves. Only luck can capture this, but actually that's what happened. You compete and you can see. But at that level, at that kampung level, that's the notion of looking at future leaders, in a sense. So what I want to do today is, I was given this couple of weeks ago, what I want to look and want to share with you, not a lecture, I'm sharing, so I'm waiting for people to respond. I think there are three things that you immediately must notice, whatever you are, whoever you are, wherever you are. The structure of society, that means the social institution, custom, whatever it is, or immigration, these are institutions. So the general notion of structure involves society, state, and market. Who controls the state? Is the market controlling the state, or the state controlling the market? This is also very interesting. We think everything is free and the market, not involved in politics, but I don't believe that. I really don't believe that, because the whole history of politics in the world is about marketing the leader, in a sense. So in a sense, you have to know what the structure is, and then second, you have to know the history. Even how little you know is equally useful in some sense. History here, it doesn't mean that it's only the most recent history, but also in the long term, you have to know what happens during the pre-colonial period, colonial and post-colonial. You know why? Because many of the things that you see today are layered based on what has happened before. I mean, we have the Raja. The Raja did not exist here. Only this century. It has been 400 or 500 years. So these layers of society remain, but in different form. They also get transformed. So in that sense, I think that notion of history, it can be really deep and long or immediate, up to you. It depends on the relevance to your own existence and what you have to do and how you have to deal with it. Biography. I don't mean here biography as a novel that people tell their story of life. But biography is, sociologically speaking, you and I, as an individual, as a family, as a community, our life is shaped by the structure and the history. Very simple. My parents are shaped by the structure and history of their time. I am shaped by the structure and history of my time and yours. So don't forget, we still eat the same thing, but we now find they are packaged in different ways. So as simple as that, to see the food that we eat, the way we organize food. And now with Grab and what is the other company? The pink one. I only remember the color. Yeah, Pak Food Panda, yes. Food Panda pun saya tak kenal. Saya tak pernah order Food Panda. Anyway, when I talk of biography, when sociologists like me talk about biography, it's not simply about the story of life of a person, but what shapes that story. So in Malaysia, I spend a lot of time looking at middle class, and the rise and expansion of middle class. I cannot find a data is good enough. Income is not good enough for middle class. Why? We don't know what the gangsters earn. We don't know. And yet they are controlling a lot of stuff in this country. That says Lim Guang Eng. Lim Guang Eng says 31% of the economy is underground economy. Can you imagine that? 31%. It was his speech. I don't believe him. Even India is only 38%. But interesting. You know, that's why I'm looking for this kind of facts. Tak ada tau. They don't have. If you find it, probably the researcher will be dead before he discovers everything. Why? The triad will come after him. So it's quite interesting in Hong Kong. I can see a lot of this research done in Hong Kong and a lot of this research in India. Not in Latin America. Latin America, too many cattle chasing everybody. So it's quite interesting for me to see, to understand your biography is to understand what is the society you are in. I mean, during the Sultan Melaka time, obviously they have no phone and whatnot, so therefore, Hang Tuah cannot report to Hang Jebat, I'm still alive, you know. So, don't worry, you don't have to worry about me. But Hang Jebat, as a friend, so his character is shaped by the history and structure. So this we cannot run away from. Nobody in this room can run away from this history and structure. Whether the Dasar Ekonomi Baru, whether the 30%, whether 153, you cannot run away from it. Even how much you like or dislike, but I think you can't run away. So when I look around, when I was looking for, I mean, I have been in numerous interview board for all sorts of stuff, promotion, for VC position, Naib Chancellor position, and also not only in UKM but also in 4 or 5 other universities, UMK, UMS, UNIMAS, so it's quite interesting for me to, what are the sources of authority of these leaders? This is what we discussed in the interview board, you know. So I'm going to take you into a simple interview board looking for these leaders. So we say, are we looking for charismatic leader? Are we looking for the traditional or one legal rational? Because in the university, Uncle Aziz passed away 2 days ago. Okay, so I've worked with him as a student, also as a lecturer. I had a lot of discussion because we were in a research team funded by Hitachi Foundation for rural development. So the most interesting comment he made about university is, there are 2 types of leadership in the university, he says. One is academic leadership, the other one is bureaucratic leadership. Okay. I said, what do you mean by academic leadership? Academic leadership is very simple, he said. When you ask him, what is his loyalty? Is he loyal to UKM? No, he said, I'm loyal to sociology. Because wherever I work in the world, I don't work for UKM studies. There's no such thing as UKM studies. It's only in sociology. So, I tukar tempat lain pun, I kerja, I mengajar bidang sociology, bukan bidang UKM, mana ada bidang UKM. So he said, that's academic leadership. So you are not loyal. So when every time we sing in front of the convocation about UKM, I always remember what Uncle Aziz said, you are not loyal to the university as an academic leader. Wherever you go, you are loyal to your discipline because you are chosen for your expertise and leadership in the field. Bureaucratic leadership is an ability to manage, ability to organize, ability to legal rational authority. I mean, there are legal things that are not rational, there are rational things which are not legal. That's why we have debate all the time in Parliament, and including people who don't have knowledge also want to debate. Yeah. So we have problem in Malaysia. We debate all the time, with a lot of people have half knowledge. So what do you do? So for me, when I interview a person for a position, most likely university position, because that's where my leadership rests, is to look for possibility, and as a Malaysian in a Malaysian society, all the 3. Why? Why do I love all the 3? Why do you want to know about the traditional authority? The most important thing, if he is a Malay born in Malaysia, he cannot run away from certain things in life. Cannot run away. Can you run away from the Sultan? Cannot. You cannot. Even durian also afraid of the Sultan. Can you imagine that? So for me, it's very interesting how you may think how westernized we are and all this stuff, but when it comes to the mind and when it comes to tradition, when we are resourcing our leadership and our base or baseline from some traditional authorities. You like it or not? I have this friend, his name is James Scott. He wrote this book called Weapons of the Weak. He studied Kedah. He was doing research in, dia dalam buku tu, in the book he called it Sedekah, but the name ada Yan, in Yan Kedah. This is a Muda project. So what does he do? What he did was to study how can the weak actually fight the strong people. How? We think they are helpless. No, they are not helpless. The first thing they do is surat layang, fitnah. Of course, the usual tradition is at night, and go and see the bomo, I said. This having to resort to this mystical power, and even though you believe it or not, but in some sense it gives you a sense of authority. So therefore, in some ways, leadership in Malaysia, including Chinese and Indian, they have no choice. They have their own bomo lah. I mean, what they call feng shui. I don't see any scientific school of feng shui, but anyway, people make millions of dollars. They look for feng shui in order to have. I don't know whether this building is feng shuied or not, but it's interesting. So when you live in a society like Malaysia, you cannot run away from what apparently very unmodern, looking traditional and so on. But actually, it has embedded into the modern quite easily. I mean, there's this book called I Ching. You just ask the Japanese corporate manager and also the Chinese. They will have a copy of I Ching in their office all the time, and one coin. They spin the coin or 3 coins, and they will see what shall I do today. After all the scientific lecture analysis done by his whole company, he's there with his I Ching book. I see this for myself, because one of my classmates is a rich man, but he doesn't want to share his money with me. It's okay, that's all right. But he is my access to a Chinese notion of traditional values that they practice. Because I like to ask them, how different are you from the Westerner? You went to Harvard School, Business School, and Wharton School, and wherever else. How do you make the final decision? So he said, I buka buku I Ching lah. And then my grandfather taught me. Do you believe in this? Well, it doesn't matter you believe or not. This is what I do all the time. My family does all the time, so I'm doing it. At the end of the day, when I've completed a checklist, the last one is I Ching, it's fine. So he sees it differently. Even though, there's the notion of tradition. But for me, that tradition has embedded into the value system that he has, that he managed to overlap that value system with all the modern value system they have acquired through his education and through his business. Because once he does business, he has to deal with all sorts of societies, European, African, and then Latin American. So he is involved in that kind of business where it takes him to Arab countries. So suddenly, that's why I'm relevant to him. He always comes, and when he rang me, his secretary rang me for lunch, I know he's going somewhere. He's asking me, what is the cultural background of these people? And I don't know all. I said, give me a cue. Where are you going? At least I can Google, I said, So it's interesting that nowadays, even the Chinese business have realized that when they go to do business in the Middle East, not even in the same Middle East country, in 2 different Middle Eastern countries, they have different ways. And of course, Arabic, there are 5 different ways to speak Arabic, so that's only already a problem. You learn Arabic, you will not immediately know the other Arabic. No, that I know, because the people in Sudan speak Arabic too. So suddenly I said, oh, Sudan pun cakap Arab, ya? Then you realize that the Arabic has become a dialect, less of a language. So Kelantan speak Malay too, so is Negeri Sembilan. But do they understand one another? I'm not quite sure. You go pasar malam, then you realize they actually don't understand each other. So it's interesting for me to see these little details as much as the macro picture, because that's what informed me when I look at a leader, like, you know, when you want to become a vice chancellor, I talk this because, about this because in the last few days, we've been talking about who is the next vice chancellor and so on. So people have been asking me, what do you think, and what do you think of A, B, C, D? So that's why I don't go to the interview, but I write. I say I like to write on record what I think of the person. So, you tak takut ke kalau orang ni jumpa surat ni? Di Malaysia ni saya anggap tidak ada yang rahsia. Itu sebab saya berani menulis kerana saya tahu one day he will be able to read. If not, I'm alive, when I'm dead, he still read it. And he spit on me or my grave, I don't care. But that's my opinion at that time. So I'm not going to pretend. I said, Mr. A is good, but he's deputy vice chancellor only 2 years. He's excellent academic, number one, I said. Calon nombor 3, excellent, but never came to Bangi, he's always in Cheras, I said. Because he's busy running hospital, I said. So I mean, all this lah, yeah? And how about this guy? Oh, his guy is all around, Terengganu, UKM, everywhere else. But I'm not sure whether you ask his people in his department, they may not like him because there's a particular academic leadership that he is being questioned by the public in the university. So it is interesting for me how these little things, yeah. So in Malaysia, because we suddenly wanted 20 universities, we don't have that academic leaders. Not enough academic leaders. Probably 1 or 2. So what do you have? We have a lot of bureaucratic leaders in the university whose academic position is not number 1 in his field. That is the gap that we have in Malaysia. So when I become when I'm a member of the interview board, that I have to realize. I cannot ask a VC that is good in both. No. We don't have that. We only have most excellent leaders. That's without doubt. We have so many leadership centers, AKEP lah, Hantap, macam-macam lagi lah. So we have. But the academic part, there's no training center. For mathematics, there's no training center for leaders. For geography, no training center. For economics, there's no training center. But they have an organization like GSB that allow you to think deeply and study deeply the areas that you want to have. That is the advantage what GSB is offering. To allow you to think what is ordinary in a more systematized sense. Very ordinary things, yeah, marketing or whatever it is, very ordinary, but actually when you organize it systematically, you have to follow certain trajectory, very, very clear. If it's this business, this is where it is. So it trains you the detail as well as the macro picture. So simultaneously, you must be a macro thinker, micro thinker at the same time. And how do you marry the two? Now, when you see about, I just want to go quickly, ya. Tell me, nanti cukup waktu bagi tahu, ha? Saya ni 2 jam selalu bagi kuliah. So anyway, so dipaksa oleh UKM, okay. So pasal ikut unit kan. So 3 unit, 2 unit kuliah, 1 unit tutorial. Daripada dululah kan. Now, I want to specifically see how this works in the Malaysian case, because you are familiar with the Malaysian case. The Malaysian case is a non-business governance of the state. I'm not discussing the corporate sector and whatnot. I'm trying to look what is nearest to me that I know, not something that I read about. Because this training of sociologists and anthropologists is how much field work you have done, how much first contact you have face to face. So I can only talk based on this, the anthropological side, the ethnographic side, the story side of things. So I think we must not forget how much we want to hate colonialism or whatever the campaign is. The colonial historical origin of governance and decision-making process is still with us today. Okay? But the question is, it was fragmented. Federated Malay state different from unfederated Malay state and straight settlement. The simplest difference is there's a JCS in Johor, there's MCS in Perak, Selangor Negeri Sembilan, Pahang. And there's federal representative in the state which has its own KCS, Kedah, Terengganu, Kelantan. So it's quite interesting for me at one go, nampak semua sama, all the same, but actually we operate differently. And politically, in this country, we forget this different organization, the different role of the civil service. Because for me, the ability for Malaysia, out of 18 countries we had election in 2018, Malaysia managed to do it peacefully and transfer of power peacefully. The reason is because, people ask me why, because we have a civil service can run the country without the ministers, I said. They can run it. It's routinized. Because any minister that comes to power or being appointed, they have to learn. I mean, they have to be briefed. And some of them, the first thing they ask is, macam mana saya boleh claim ini, claim itu, claim ini. That's the pegawai khas dia bagi tahu saya lah kan. Lepas tu macam ni. So actually the first week, they don't care about the country. They care about, I am the minister, what do I get? Pension saya berapa lama ni, berapa lama saya nak jadi, how long I become minister then I have pension. All these questions. No wonder they need pegawai khas. Why? To mediate between the civil servant and themselves. So that's interesting way. And they wouldn't know. If you ask them questions, especially DAP or MCA, if you ask about JCS, MCS, they have no clue. They're all the same. Oh, civil servant. I said, no. In Malaysia, civil servant has got different brand. I said, you know. So it's quite interesting. Suddenly, the notion of running this country is not that straightforward. Tu belum masuk Sabah, Sarawak. Kelantan pun tak namanya daerah jajahan. So you have to begin to understand this country is run differently in every state, I said. So how you manage? So you shift from one place to another, how you change this scenario? Not the scenario, you have to change the scenario. How can you adapt to this different strategy? So it's interesting. In Kelantan, they call still jajahan, not daerah. And there's different power. You tengok the state constitution, it's different. So these differences are minor, but it is rubbed out as if it's equal in the news, in the newspaper, in the social media. It's all flattened as if they are the same. But as a leader, in whatever form you are, whether private or public sector, it's not the same. It's different. And if you don't have this detailed knowledge, when you are number one in the country, you don't have this detailed knowledge, susah jugalah. If not, you ask your pegawai khas lah to have this detailed knowledge and learn a bit. Go back and read his history book kan. To allow you to operate in this country. And in process of decision making. Because you know, any of this decision can be override. Even how much important it is, it being silenced. I was 6 years in the Lembaga Penasihat SPRM. I don't tell people very much, but now I'm out of it, it's okay lah. Lantikkan Agung kan. I'm still asking the SPRM, ni yang di dalam Jabatan Air Sabah tu mana bagi duit tu? Sampai sekarang. Cerita pun tak ada kan? So saya kata macam mana ni? Tak tahulah, saya tak boleh jawab lah. I can't answer, but I can ask question. I can't answer. But lama betul. Nak ngira pun lama. Lepas tu agaknya hilang satu selai-selai pun lama. So tak tahulah. I like to make joke about this, but I think it's strange lah. Yang 100,000 korporal tu dia dapat, jumpa. Lepas tu buat mahkamah. It's 156 million. So obvious. So anyway, Sabah for you. It's different. Sarawak lain lagi. Why? Because Malaysia ni, sejarah Sabah, history of Sarawak, is different from history Semenanjung. So Sarawak and Sabah is shaped by different forces of history. Sabah with the North Borneo Company, which is like East India Company still, not the British colonial office. Sarawak is run by a family, Raja Brooke, and we run by 9 Sultan and plus. It's different. So when I faced Max Onkili, my good friend, we were at in Melbourne doing a PhD. They was doing agricultural economics. I was doing social anthropology. So I've known him very long. I told him, he said, come and help us lah, Shamsul. How can I help you? You got 18 things, 20 things that I don't have. And Sarawak has 18 things I don't have. We still have to carry passport, to go to your place. Huh? We have to get work permit. If I'm a doctor, I have to register. I'm a lawyer, I have to register. Already, a lawyer have to register every state, I said. They can operate carrying, saya ada lesen syariah lawyer. Tak ada, I said. You have to get, every state has to give you the certificate. So this is what I mean. This plurality, that's why when I give this lecture to Malaysians, I like to remind them that this is what I remind myself also lah. When I teach pelajaran pun, whatever, study on sociology, politics, sociology, economy. The reality is in front of us, all this knowledge, how to apply. Macam mana nak jadi pegawai? How do you become an officer if you don't know this knowledge? You have to know this knowledge. You are not a historian. It's not important you are a historian or not. You have to know your history. It's about your country. Why do you have to wait to go and get a degree in history to talk about history? Come on lah. This is ridiculous. Yeah. So this is why if you see post-colonial, dia tak ada beza tau. We call it federalism, but it's a mixed method of governance. Peninsula, Malaysia, Sarawak, Sabah. Post-NEP is more mixed with the privatization process. Now, this layering of many systems is what you have to be aware of, really. In whatever position you are, the most highest position, whether middle management or whatever you are in this country, whether you run a glove factory or whatever it is, it's quite interesting for me to see the debate in the glove factory, kan? The whistleblower and so on and so forth. It's interesting for me to read it. COVID brought out everything. So they find a vaccine for COVID, but they cannot find vaccine for wrongdoing. They can't find a vaccine for corruption. They can find vaccine for COVID-19. So, sorry lah, kadang-kadang I make joke benda ni tak patut kan. But I thought, if I give a lecture, boring nak buat apa kan? I mean, I'm sharing my experience lah. It's not just about a class. It's about how I went through my life and experience, and you are all here now, you are willing to share. Okay. Contemporary context. State, society, market. Ini yang, I always debate. Is the country being controlled by the market or the market controlled by the economy? The answer is, you want to know the answer? I didn't find the answer. I stumbled on the answer. There are two majorities in this country. Economic majority and political majority. Political majority is based on demography. Berapa ramai pengundi lah. So, obviously Bumiputra lah. But the Bumiputra is a minority in economy. That's why we have to have NEP. The Chinese is majority in economy, minority in population. This is the struggle that we have in this country. When we talk about market versus state, is about what? The Malay-dominated state and the Chinese-dominated market. But now we are seeing the state is being controlled by all sorts of people, but the market still remain the same. Now, how do you deal with that? Ini bukan soal pecah Melayu ke apa. Fine, you can talk about perpecahan Melayu, but you see they are laughing together in the lake club. They marah depan kita, tapi belakang kita enjoy, nampak? So it's interesting for me. If you want to understand whether the state is controlling the market or market controlling the state in the country, you have to begin by looking the two different notions of majorities. This is what a lot of foreigners don't understand. They don't understand this country has two types of majorities, and one purely wealth, market chain control and so on and so forth. The other one is demographic. You have bigger population, you have bigger vote. Ini pun nak dicabar melalui apa? With new delineation of kawasan pilihan raya, supaya kawasan seperti setapak mesti ada 3 parliamentary seat. What does it mean? It's all Chinese majority. So suddenly, the minority, demography, political suddenly become majority in parliament. just be careful of this delineation. I'm always say that this is not delineation. This is totally control, I said. Okay. I want you to look at the next 3 diagrams. You have to share this slide with all, you know. I don't make this for top secret, no. Nobody is going to tangkap me for this. Okay, that's why I said pre-colonial structure. I was a student of Ismail Hussein in Universiti Malaya. Ismail Hussein ni bagi kuliah tau. I ada buku dia, ada the last bit dalam reference, ada reference, I tulis reference. Nanti tengok ya. Ni ada reference ni. Tak masuk dalam ni. Ada satu oleh buku Ismail Hussein. But anyway, I will show you later the title. I share with you. So first you have to begin with the pre-colonial structure. The only complete society and culture in this country is the Malay, belonging to the Malay. When the Chinese came, the Indian came, the Chinese didn't come with the landed gentry and the Mandarin here. No, we don't. They don't come here. They come here as workers, all right, and business people. Itu sebab saya gambar tu budaya rendah. Ini rakyat Siatif punya istilah lah, budaya tinggi, budaya rendah. Saya tanya dia, Tan Sri, tinggi ni tinggi mana? Dia dapat jawab, tinggi Gunung Tahan, rendah tu. Saya kata, Kinabalu lagi rendah. Saya kata. So it's quite interesting, we joke together about this. So, why do I want to show this? Because I think we have not really understood the differences between us. At the core, it's not about Chinese, Malay, and Indian. It's about the culture that we have here. And how masa British serahkan Malaysia atau Malaya kepada Malaysia, dia dalam constitution tu tak ada perkataan Cina dan India. Why? Why isn't there the word Chinese or Indian inside the constitution? It's because of the recognition of this. Because the British is the one who have studied a lot about Malay society. Oleh Winston, Wilkinson, they have written a dictionary, Winston, Malay, English, English, Malay. They really understood the Malay society. So therefore, they feel that this country must be led by the Malays because they have the Sultan at the top and hamba abdi kat bawah. Macam mana ni? This is a complete society. But the Chinese and Indian came, as they imported them, they know. They are not importing the intellectuals. They are not importing ships and loads of Brahmin to come here. No, except for the temple. So it's quite interesting the way the British see how this society has to operate and how it has operated. So therefore, when they came, dia ada itulah. Dia jadi advisory capacity. Tapi very powerful advisory capacity. So you can see now, some of the menteri besar is taking over from the advisory capacity. Itu the modern one, the post-colonial, bila merdeka, so the advisory capacity taken over by the new post called menteri besar. Setengahnya besar kepala. So, you know, it's interesting, this menteri besar, because some of them my classmates like Isa, Samad, and all these people, Sahidan, my junior kan. So it's interesting how the same structure now superimposed with the English, the colonial power. Most likely it's not English lah, either Irish or Scottish. In England, English too, they will rule England and UK. But the one below them, below the English are the Irish, the Welsh and the Scottish. They are sent overseas. The New Zealand is all Scottish. So it's quite interesting. Within England pun dia ada subdivision dia. Kita ingat semua orang putih, we see only the colour. We don't see the culture. So when they come here, they see the culture. So they know. So the smart British was this. They come to middle. Yang bawah they maintain penghulu-penghulu, no problem. Mukim ke apa, you remain. Yang atas, raja, remain. Kita masuk tengah saja. Tapi kita kontrol atas, kita kontrol bawah. They control the top, they control the bottom. You just have to see how they organize district office. See that. The district office that we have today, to understand how it operates, you have to see the PBT, how the local council organize. Berapa borang nak isi nak buat rumah tu? Kontraktor. Berapa? 20 lebih lah. Itulah jabatan-jabatan, the departments at the district level. Now, You have to understand this. Johor lain lagi sebab dia JCS dia lain. Kelantan lain lagi, Terengganu lain lagi. So it's interesting. If you are a contractor, a Chinese contractor, you have to understand this. Sometimes better than the civil servant. Because you have to operate. Once you have a company that operates, you want to call it eco ke apa ke, dia ikut zaman lah kan. Dulu eco, sekarang apa lagi. So they shift to Johor, lain. Shift to Kelantan, they have to learn this. And the latest thing is, all the Chinese contractors cannot speak Malay, but they can speak excellent bahasa Indonesia. Why? They have to deal with the workforce. They have no choice. Kalau boleh kena belajar Jawa, dia belajar Jawa. That's how business is. So it's interesting when people say, oh, dia orang heboh, kita bahasa Melayu tak digunakan. I said, you go down to see the contractor. I said, you listen to them. The problem is they don't work in aircon room. They work on the ground, instructing all the workers. Tengok dia, Bapak, bagaimana ini? Kata dia. I kata, terror, cakap bahasa Indonesia. Mengapa ini sengit? Kata dia. Tahu pula dia sengit. Kata. Interesting. These are little things that me trained as anthropologists will be able to see and relate to the bigger things. Because I think this is what we see everyday life as well as in the authority sense. So the colonial structure remains. So when we have post-colonial social structure, we add many more things. So you have to understand this because different state ni kan walaupun Melayu tapi Melayu di Kelantan, kemudian di Johor, you tengok sultan dia lah, berapa sultan, mana sultan yang banyak sekali cakap. You tahulah macam keadaannya. Tapi bila sampai ke mesyuarat raja-raja Melayu, dia mungkin tak bercakap. They have their own reason why they don't want to speak. They have their own reason why they don't want to be the Agong. When they are so rich, why do they want to become an Agong? So it's quite interesting lah when we look at this and we study this. Yeah? So for me, we know that Edward de Bono with his thinking outside the box kan. Tapi I want to advance this model lah. It's called katak bawah tempurung. You can be outside the box, but in Malaysia, you always be katak bawah tempurung. You always be a tempurung over you. What is that? A person who is conservative, narrow-minded, social structure that exhibit these features in Malaysia is the Sultanate system. Permeates from top to bottom, authority defined, everyday defined, life all Malaysian, irrespective of ethnicity, including foreigners. They have to submit to this. Royal honorific titles are at the apex of the system, openly and publicly articulated. Tengoklah 2-3 hari, kita Jumaat cuti kan tadi kan. Tengok surat khabar. Siapa dapat datuk, siapa dapat ini. Leaders and leadership trapped as katak bawah tempurung. This is how I see it. I'm sorry, I'm not referring to you. I'm referring to the tradition in this country that we have no choice. So, my argument is leaders and leadership in Malaysia, symbolically leaders and leadership in Malaysia are trapped in the katak bawah tempurung model. The highest and the richest of Malaysians in public and private sector, from all ethnic groups, including foreigners, somewhat beholden to the Malaysian symbolic principles to be among possessing the royal highest honours belonging to the elite of the elites. Whatever the theories and examples of the notion of leadership development, including governance strategic, being taught at Malaysian universities or foreign universities based in Malaysia, has never addressed this katak bawah tempurung issue or model. Why do I want to make the claim? See yourself, all the katak. Ada 2 Tan Sri pula sekali. Datuk, Sri, Datuk. Saya pun heran, dah ada Tan Sri tak payahlah sebutlah yang lain kan. Tapi kena sebut. Aduh, saya kata, memang dah bawah tempurung betul kita ni. Tak boleh tidak. Toki-toki ni pun sama. They need it, they want it. Why? Kalau ada jamuan, dia takkan duduk tepi pintu. They want to sit in the middle. So without the Tan Sri and Datuk Sri, they will sit in the corner. So what do you do? Then don't ask me what do they do to get the Tan Sri. Either they are given or they ask. Very simple. Dia ada broker pula tu, orang tengah semua. So it's quite interesting, this system that we have. I'm not saying bad things, please. I'm not saying bad things. I'm saying the reality in this country. There are 2 different things. You mengata ke atau you berkata-kata mengenai ini. For me, I have to explain this. Because I pergi ngajar Intan, I show them this. Here lah Prof, engkau besok jadi KSN, macam ni lah kelakuan kau, cakap. Kita tak tahu tu dalam 100 orang yang muda tu jadi MCS, 3 tahun lalu saya kata, kau tak tahu ni, kau satu orang mesti jadi KSN. Kau ingat ni, cakap. Kau ingat gambar ni. Kau ingat Rajah ni, cakap. And then you come back, probably to my graveyard lah, you know. So, it is not trying to rubbish the system, no. I'm trying to make us aware that with all the sensitivities you have developed through this course, there's one particular sensitivity that you also must acquire. That is about this country. So you cannot run away from this. Yeah? So, bila tiap kali keluar iklan, newspaper mengenai raja, semua tengok, ada nama aku tak ni, kata, macam tu. Kalau tak dia tengok, bini dia tengok. So, it's quite interesting for me to see some of my friends desperately looking for their names. So, I said, you buat ladang durian lah. Saya, boleh. Kata, it's no problem. Yeah. So, these are the, sorry. Balik boleh, So, I have someone to, tak iklan So I got to get somebody to draw this kan. I pun tak reti nak buat ni. So Fuad duduk dengan I punya IT tu. Kau carilah gambar tempurung. I tak mau yang I tak mau yang apa tu yang ada copyright ya. Tak boleh tukar. Saya kata ada box, tapi dalam tu kau mesti pula box tu supaya aku nak tunjuk box tu dalam tempurung tu. Then you can get the idea. Even you are outside the box, but you actually under the tempurung. Tempurung ni ada saiz. Kalau ikut Anwar Ibrahim, tempurung ni ada besar, ada kecil. Itu dia tu. Dia ucapan, saya ingat lagi. Semua Melayu ni buat tempurung. Tapi tempurung tu ada besar, ada kecil. So kita tanya dia, you buat tempurung mana? Saya itulah kan. So it's interesting. This nomenclature ataupun istilah-istilah, the words that are being used, are not really unreal or not true, but sometimes it disebut dalam kiasan apa semua kan. But I think you have to establish the reality. So I'm trying to establish that to allow you to make sense of what goes on around you in this country. Itulah yang dapat saya sembahkan hari ini. Thank you very much. Dan kalau ada soalan. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih. Any question? Silakan.
Yeah, thank you, Prof. Dato'. I guess we open the question to the members of the floor first.
Yes, please.
Assalamualaikum Dato'.
Waalaikumsalam.
Zulhairi, MBA student, UKM. I have a question, but I have to say this. A few days ago, I watched a clip from Parliament of Singapore, where they debate about their governments and everything. I impressed with how they talk in manners in the government parliament session. And I remember what Lee Kuan Yew said, and he said a very interesting phrase. If the opposition took over now the government of Singapore, he believed that they will do a great and a better job, because what they left is a legacy of a good practice and governance. So, contradict with our country here in Malaysia, when I watch the clip from the parliament session, sometimes I have to slow down the volume because I don't want my kids to hear what they're saying. So we were talking about academic leaders, bureaucratic leaders, but how we develop a leaders to lead the government in the future. Thank you. That's all my.
I was in a committee on apa tu, latihan negara kan, PLKN. Just because I was in a military college before, so they invited me to come. Syamuddin lah, Syamuddin's time. So we have a debate because we spent 700 million for 3 months. PLKN. 700 million for 3 months training. I said, We need only 3,000 ringgit, I said, not 700 million. Because I think, put it this way, I've also looked at the Singapore system. The filtering process in Singapore, of course, because of numbers, they are smaller numbers, so they're able to do that. But despite that, they still can do it because there are other countries with same number can't do it. So we have to compare Singapore to other countries, not Malaysia, because the sheer numbers is not able to make apple and apple comparison. But we compare Singapore to Malta, to Cyprus, to Greece, and then suddenly we realize they're really, really up there in the sky. First, they filter at the primary school. Those who go to Malay, Chinese, or vernacular school are the people who are not in the stream that will go to university. They go to TVET. Then only those in English educated, and then they have junior college, special. Sekolah biasa satu hal, tapi they have the junior college, Singapore Junior College and so on and so forth, that will have a clear track to go to university. That too, which subject? Engineering, arts, or sekarang, now Singapore is teaching liberal education because they realize clever people doesn't come from the science. They have to go to both, liberal art, which is science. So there's a school, liberal art, joined with Yale University. So, and then their top crop, all Harvard, Cambridge, Oxford, Yale, Stanford. They send 150 every year. 150. What does that mean? In all the fields. Not only in art, in engineering. So what happened when they come home? The first thing they do is they have to go to the national service. So national service, and then they will serve and rise in the ranking like B.G. Lee, Brigadier General dulu. And many others, they punya deputy, Brigadier General. So, because they must also double up as a leader in the army in case anything happens in the volunteer service. So they have planned that very carefully and clearly with a lot of funding. You have to have a lot of money to do that. There's a human resource, skill training, and whatever you want to call it. So Singapore has systematically trained all this. Why? Then they have interview selection for MPs. You pernah dengar ke MP kita kena ada interview? Interview bila dah kena masuk mahkamah oleh surat khabar. That's all the interview they have. Alright? They are not interviewed to become MP. And that's why you see you have to tone down the thing. Oh, I don't know who these are, especially from Malacca. Oh, with due respect to all my Malacca friends. Itulah. So, when people want to make comparison with Singapore, you have to be very careful because they have a very systematic to the detail. I give you a case where Singapore also controls you when you go opposition. When you are in opposition, when you do like whatever his name, Jayaratnam, you know what happened? I know his son, okay? The company, credit card company will come and claim, you owe us 35,000, please pay now. Your loan must pay now. Who gives that instruction? You think the bank voluntarily want to take back 35,000 from his credit card and the housing loan 2.5 million? No, but it's done in Singapore. You don't pay bankrupt. I mean, you do this in Malaysia. You even have cluster mahkamah operating in this country. Still want to rule this country. So it's different. So for me, it's very difficult to understand how we operate, but you have to go back to this lah. Itu sebabnya, sorry, apa saya ni, tak pandai benda ni kan? Ni, tak apa. So for me, go back to the structure tu. Tak apa. Saya selalu pakai operate sendiri benda ni kan. Minta, okay, buat tapi, okay, now we go this way. I suka gambar ni, sebab ya. So if you imagine this, and then you look at this, how many layers these leaders have to deal with? Pengundi dia seolah-olah terpisah daripada elit. Itu sebab orang kata, oh, jalan belakang. I said, no. They all are bona fide wakil rakyat, telah diberi mandat oleh rakyat. Okay? Tetapi mereka boleh buat apa dia suka sebagai wakil rakyat yang telah diberi kuasa. Silap lah, you give them magic, like apa ni, all these movies, I tak ingat lah movie ni, tapi yang ada magic macam-macam kan. So you give your wakil rakyat a magic wand for them to do anything. That's what we call representative democracy. So they can do anything. I mean, my wakil rakyat is KJ. Itu KJ. You janji je human right lah, apa right, sampai sana you bincang tentang you punya right. I said, susah lah, cakap. So, you know, what right we have? I said, you know, kau janji lu kau main kita, we must human right, civil society, sampai ke parlimen, no, soal vaksin pun tak boleh right, dia kata. So it's interesting the way we operate in this country. So Lee Kuan Yew have done away with all this sekolah Cina, dia tutup komunis, dia tangkap masuk 21 tahun. Then he has cleared, dia macam istilah sekarang ni namanya detox. Orang semua nak detox. Singapura sudah detox dulu lagi. So suddenly Malaysia ni biasalah. Itu sebabnya kena tangkap warung tak bersih apa semua. Dia tak ada detox kat Malaysia ni. So in a sense, I'm not saying bad things because I go to the warung myself. Anyway, so the question is, this is the system we live in. It chuggles along compared to 18 other countries that have election in 2018. The only one that didn't have violence is this country. There must be something right we're doing because of the system. There must be a check and balance with this system. But it is not surprising we look at all the dirty ones first. We only see the dirty one, the difficult one first. And because that's what the other side wants to highlight. You think the other side also have got all clean? No. The other side is the same. Now we know both sides are the same. Is that the Pepsi Cola or Coca-Cola? No different. For me, the choice has been very straightforward. Lepas Coca-Cola, minum Pepsi, Pepsi tak sedap, buang. Terganti lain Coca-Cola. Now, Raja Cola from India. It's another brand. So, that's how I look at it. I'm not saying Singapore, Malaysia is not doing, but I'm not saying how good Malaysia is. I'm saying how complicated Malaysia is and how the balancing system. I mean, with the royal family, we have a tough time. Lee Kuan Yew, habis dibuangnya. Sukarno, buang semua royal family. They have their vision differently. Well, ours, berebut dah dapat bintang ni. So for me, I have to take with a big pinch of salt lah when people criticize Malaysia. So at the end, I become great supporter of Malaysia. Not political party, great supporter of Malaysian system. So when I go to US, they all say, oh, what happened to Malaysia? Come on, I said, please, look what happened in that supermarket, people being killed. It's not an issue in Malaysia, I said, you know. So why are you asking me this question? Why don't you ask that yourself? I can tell you all the good things about Malaysia, you don't believe me. But CNN is telling me all the bad things that is happening in your country. This question is irrelevant. I said, tu je I jawab. Kadang-kadang it's very tough. And the same with pemberita dari luar negeri yang datang sini. And the political scientists, social scientists yang datang sini. They are so different. They are totally confused now. Why? Kejap tukar. Ni, kejap barisan, PN, kejap. They can't analyze now. Because they are very clear from their background. Republican, Democrat. Labour, Conservative. Or Liberal Democrat. Australia, Labour and National Party and the Conservative. Very clear. Kat Malaysia, parti ni berjalan-jalan. Sana kemari, kedai kemari. Tak boleh di GPS kan? Itu semua lah aku gambar kata tu. Sebab dia boleh lompat-lompat. Tapi bah tempurung. So I think this is, I mean, it's a very good question you raise, because then we allow us to see who really are, we really are, and in some sense. And I think we also have rules and regulation. Like Singapore, ISA, they still have. We don't have ISA, we have SOSMA, but still, don't try to say rubbish about the royal family lah. You kena lah in Malaysia kan. So there are check and balance in this country. But like an old train, we are chugging along, tuk, still going. Sama ada ekonomi buruk ke ekonomi baik ke, we are going along. Why? I tell you, we are quite rich country. We don't believe the word we are rich country. Why? We have been drummed in our head, hutang, 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 hutang. Kita pula sebut hutang, kita pun terasa, pun banyak hutang ni. So it's very easy psychologically to get into your mind because hutang is a personal word. It's not a national word, it's a personal word. Di Singapore, interesting, the other episode that's in Singapore you mentioned. So budak sekolah Melayu pergi Tibet, budak Cina. So what happened? Suddenly SIA aeroplane, all pegawai jaga dia punya teknikal semua Melayu. Why? Lulusan Tibet jaga kapal terbang. Then they get worried. How come? Singapore Airlines officers are all Melayu, jaga dia punya aeroplane, jaga dia punya safety. Why? You send them to Tibet. That's what they become. In order to go to airplane on the tarmac, you have to have a license, a special license. Not anybody, not any engineer can go to the tarmac and go and fiddle with the aeroplane. You have to have a special permit. And 90% Melayu dekat Singapore. Dia sudah jadi problem. Why? You plan that way. What to do? So that one they don't discuss lah. They discuss among the Singapore pilot. They will tell us. Okay, next question. Saya cerita panjang kalau dengan Singapore ni because silakan. Okay. Yep. Yeah.
So right now we will achieve. We will get over the system.
Yeah.
So do you think it's a problem with the system that we need to talk, or do you think it's something we should not? We should do something.
Okay.
We talk all the leaders.
No. I think I need to another 2 hours to explain that. But let me start with a simple term that you all know: nation state. You tengok mana-mana buku politik nation state. Di Malaysia kita tak boleh samakan nation state dengan Eropah. Negara bekas jajahan, ex-colonies country, they have a state, they have no nation. Because the colonial will not encourage nationalism. Nationalism is about toppling the government, colonial government, so that they be independent Malaysia. So nationalism, remember, nation and state. So we have a state, we have territory, we have citizenship, we have rule of law, which is inherited from the British. So our state is running very well. That's why I said when the country is rich, it's because the state is able to extract cukai apa semua lah. Itu sebabnya dia cabut GST tu rugi rasa saya. Kan? Turunkan je lah 2%, salah kan? Macam tu lah, tapi it's gone. Now duit tak ada. Dia macam, eloklah kenakan GST balik. Mesti tak boleh ya. So, we have a state, a good running state. That is why, because it is run by barisan for so long, we don't realize that it can also be run by another party, because the state is functioning very well, which is run by civil service. Okay? So what happened to the nation? To the nation, during the war, before 1950, nationalist movement Melayu itu ada 3 kelompok. Islam base, Melayu Raya base, dan satu lagi elite base. Yang elite base ni yang dipilih oleh British ni untuk merintah. There's no Chinese nationalism that support Malaya because they are busy. Chinese, Communist China and Chiang Kai-shek busy fighting for Chinese nationalism. So when any Chinese person refer to me about nationalism, I said the only nationalism you have is Communist Party. You want to create a communist country. Indian, Chandra Bose fighting for Indian nationalism. So that's why there's no Chinese or Indian nationalism base to fight for Malaya and to imagine what Malaya they want to be. Until MCA, MIC, UMNO and all this. UMNO saja yang ada yang menentang Malayan Union. So the Malays have got a vision. What is a nation? A nation is unity in terms of identity, in terms of language, in terms of culture. But we don't have that until today because of demography. So the Chinese have got their own idea what they want to Malaysia to be, Malaysia. The Indian ikut dia. Kemudian Melayu pula ada yang Islamic State. So perpecahan-perpecahan itu bukan perpecahan parti sangat. Perpecahan apakah yang diidamkan mengenai Malaysia. So, Vision 2020 is one of those visions that is promoted by the government. It so happens. So they've spent billions of dollars on this campaign. It doesn't mean it's successful. Mahathir is the Prime Minister just 2 years ago. He himself cannot do it. So I don't expect anything other than Mahathir to be able to do it. Even Mahathir can do it, as we look at it now. So, for me, Vision 2020 is an idea what they want to create as a nation, not as a state. We remain as a state, we function as a state, the rules, regulation functioning, but the nation we are not clear. Because our state, Malay-led plural society. That is what the British agreed. Malay-led plural society because of this structure. Malay-led. Diketuai oleh Melayu. Bukannya didominan oleh Melayu, itu Abdullah Ahmad pakai perkataan Melayu dominan, Malay dominan. Silap Abdullah Ahmad. It's not dominant, they just Malay-led. Lepas tu ada pula Malay supremacy. Bila pula kita gantung bakar orang lain ni, macam kat Negro, kat apalah istilah-istilah ni. Mana ada istilah ni? Saya pernah debate dengan orang DAP dekat Penang Institute. Why are you using this term? Malay supremacy. We are so afraid of the Chinese, I said. Nowadays we got bulan puasa, dalam hari raya dulu kita takut kalau Cina raya kita tak makan. Now you think that it's not true. You are running the economy of the country. So, you have your own version of Malaysia you want to be. You want Malaysia, Lee Kuan Yew suggested, the AP adopted. Without 153, without 151, without 152. Itu yang dia nak. Were they working towards that? I don't know. But it seems to be that slowly dismantling many things. Yeah. Pas dengan Islam, kejap dia mau, kejap dia tak mau. So, tengok baru 2 minggu lalu dalam Perak dia kejap mau, kejap tak mau. Itulah dia, kerja dia. Pasal dia pun tak clear apa dia nak. Dulu Islam Melayu, Melayu dulu, Melayu Islam. Sekarang Islam Melayu ke tak kira apa pun. Orang penasihat Islam di Terengganu, I can't remember his name, Dr. Bala or something, you know. So it's interesting for me. So as long as Mahathir, Union, PN, they are all about Malay-led plural society, not pro-Malay, just Malay-led. Give us the leadership. Because all the non-Malays, they may have high class, tapi dia punya value apa? Civil society, human rights. That is their high class value, which is Westerners value. How could they ever equate with our value? Itu sebab saya tunjuk nama billionaire. Whatever they are, they want this. So I think in some ways, Vision 2020 have run out dia punya use by date. So now kita dah ada kesejahteraan, shared prosperity. Saya bahasa Melayu dia sekarang lupa sebab apa saya dulu sebuah MA is called shared poverty. Sekarang dah shared prosperity. So I get confused between the two terms. Are we really sharing this prosperity or not? So I think the Vision 2020 will end on the night of 31st of December. We have a historical period from 1991, 28 February, ucapan dia, Malaysian Business Council. So he's ended. And Mahathir changed. Dah merayau pula dia dalam tu. Interesting. He carried his vision everywhere. Finally, but it's good. It has an interesting impact for us. We have a hope. Because one of the most important of the 9 challenges is a united Malaysian nation. Itu sebab ada bangsa Malaysia. Remember, nation? We don't resolve this issue, nation. So until today, we haven't resolved our notion of nation. We have resolved the state. State ni pilihan raya ke, sama ada Sarawak nak buat waktu lain pilihan raya. We still running it. Even 13 May happen di middle pilihan raya, tak habis pilihan raya Sarawak Sabah. Or Sarawak kira gitu. So it's interesting. But we still move on. Because the state is very clear. State tu masuklah. Army ke, polis ke, all the institution we have are functioning. People still come into Malaysia. Still kita check dia, tengok immigration dia. Tapi bila dia keluar, kita tak tahu. Itu je masalahnya. Masuk 500,000 turis, keluar 200,000. Mana lagi 300,000? Itu yang susah kita. So I think this is our dream of Mausan 2020 is gone. Slowly now turning to smoke. Slowly sampai hujung tahun. Itulah. Bukan saya nak mengata tu, jangan silap. Saya pemerhati perkara ni daripada awal lagi saya tengok. Because we are looking for a nation. And that nation hasn't come. And probably never come because we always trying to push our own version. So Anwar Ibrahim has come with a new version of Malaysian nation. It's called Rakyat Nation. Apa itu Rakyat Nation? Saya tanya dia. What do you mean by Rakyat Nation? Rakyat ni macam-macam lapisan. Saya kata bukan satu. Raja lain, ni lain, ni lain. Rakyat, siapa rakyat? So it's quite interesting how the terms are being used almost to trick us lah from my point of view. Nak menyedapkan telinga kita je. And then they have no content. If I want to debate with them, I'm happy. I ingat lagi, siapa tu masa tu Anwar debate dengan siapa tu? Saya tak ingat. Sabri kan? Sabri tu nak murid kita kan? So, susah lah. Tanya murid apa point ni? Mana ada point? Orang politik ni mana cakap ada point ni? No point. Why are you wasting your time? He's looking for audience. He's a pop star. You even how clever you are. Anwar Ibrahim is different. He goes by his oratory ability that others don't have. Kalau zaman dulu namanya tukang jual ubat. Sekarang ni dia lain lah. Dia dah upgrade sikit lah. Another question? Any question please?
Yes, before we move on to the online questions.
Yes, silakan. Malam. Kau jadi terror pula sekarang kau.
One question.
Yep.
Visionary leader and populist leader, which one is important for politician?
Say again.
Visionary leader versus populist leader.
I think dua-dua tak boleh pakai lah. Visionary leader will survive on populism. Cannot be on its own. Dia cannot just be visionary. Kata Nabi kan tak boleh pula kan. It cannot be visionary. So what he has is actually trying to promote an idea that will allow him to campaign in a populist manner to get the support. So they are both the same lah. They sound different. We can separate them according to some characteristic. But actually India, if you go to India, if you read more about Modi, M-O-D-I, dia punya Prime Minister, he's both visionary and populist leader. But he used Hinduism. Okay? He fired the vision and his populism through religion. Dia punya apa tu? Dia punya RSS tu ialah dia punya wing, the radical wing of the Indian Hindu fundamentalist. You tahu tak? Memang tak tahu. Buku kindergarten RSS tu digunakan di kalangan Taski pula. Taska Tamil. Macam mana tu? RSS tu macam arkam dia lah. Macam mana tu? Saya tanya pada orang kementerian Kamalan Nadan, how is it? How do you allow these books from RSS being used as a textbook for kindergarten among the Tamils? Tak ada jawab. We don't look after kindergarten. We look only after standard 1 upward. Jadi maknanya kindergarten bottom downward tak ada. Nobody really. Itu sebab orang banyak buat duit tu. Kat Kedah, taski dia to support a political party. Duit dia, source dia. So adalah negeri-negeri lain yang menggunakan kanak-kanak ni kan. Teruk betul kalau saya berfikir tentang macam mana lah dia orang buat duit dengan kanak-kanak ni untuk parti promotion. Parti. Kita, itu sebabnya kalau orang tanya saya apa one thing that you like to do is to actually reorganize the whole preschool. That's where it all starts. Not bila dah masuk darjah 1 umur 7 tahun dah keras dah cakap. Cerita dah macam-macam sampai kat rumah. Nenek dia cerita, ayah bapak cerita. Tak kira lah apa. I think saya buat kajian di Kota Kinabalu bersama dengan pensyarah dari UMS. Saya tak berani buat kat Semenanjung. Sebab kat UMS tu saya nak buat bandingan orang Bajau dengan orang Kedazan. The ethnic stereotype and prejudices. I tell you the stories of the children. Bedtime stories lah. It's all about how bad the Kedazan is. How bad the Murut is. It's incredible. So I could imagine Semenanjung lebih kurang lah. Cuma kita tak tahulah, kena buat lah research tu kan. Tapi saya masih lagi menganggap the issue in the country is kindergarten issue, preschooling. Kalau nak bercakap tentang perpaduan, pre-schooling. Cakap kat menteri, you are serious, it's about pre-schooling. Sebab apa? Saya kata Kementerian Perpaduan Negara ada dia punya melalui sekolah tadika dia masing-masing di peringkat bawah. Tak cukup saya kata. Ini bukan hanya kerajaan punya anjuran. Ini organisation. The most important thing is to pump money into it. I said. Not make another bridge. Pening ke Betul. Why? Contohnya macam di Jepun. Kita heran macam mana Jepun ni boleh macam ni kan. Oh, dia pergi World Cup kalah pun dia sapu sampah. Membersihkan stadium. I said these things have been done since they are 4 years old. My 2 kids when I was in Japan for 2 years was schooling in the kindergarten or hoikuen. Pagi-pagi lagi. Dia basuh pinggan semua dalam rumah tu. Kita pun heran macam mana dia basuh pinggan ni. Aku dulu pun tak macam ni kan. Dia school. Dia makan dia basuh sendiri. Kasut dia masuk je kena pusing kasut tu arah keluar. All this little detail cannot be taught at primary school. Cannot. Bila bunyi lagu bendera, tak bendera. Saya kok setiap tengok. Macam itulah. Dia tengok kan kau panggil wayang dulu. It's interesting. So, back to the question in Singapore. That's what they do. They look after the kindergarten. They pay. Dia tak benarkan private kindergarten. Daripada England ke mana ke. Tak benar. Kita international school memang lambat dah. So, jadi kita ada perpaduan. Lepas tu bercabang di atas. Kat bawah bercabang, kat atas bercabang. Tengah je yang ada perpaduan. Macam mana tu? Jadi saya draw gambar tu dekat menteri. Inilah dia. Atas ni international school. Lepas tu nak masuk darjah 1 ada aliran Melayu, bahasa Tamil, ada bahasa Cina, Mandarin, kemudian bahasa Arab, Islam, kemudian ada English. Kita ada 5 choice anak kita. Tak ada demokrasi ke ni? Inilah demokrasi yang paling penting, memilih masa depan dengan pendidikan. At 7 years old, we are given a chance to the kid through the parents. So we have choices. Don't say we have no choices. We have. So demokratik ini tak ada kebebasan bersuara. Saya kata kebebasan bersuara tak ada. Kebebasan hantar anak you pergi ada. So which kebebasan you want? Kebebasan bersuara atau dilarang anak you pergi sekolah satu je? Itu yang kawan saya Tio Kosong ajukan supaya one system in the whole country. Cannot, I say. Cannot say one system because mana you nak letak sekolah agama? Dia tak masuk. Sekolah agama dalam one system dia tu. Dia yang one system itu sebab ada Melayu, Cina, India, bahasa Inggeris, ini sekolah kerajaan dan sekolah private kan. Tapi saya kata sekolah agama dikontrol oleh negeri, the state. And it is a religious thing. You try to change and get Negeri Sembilan dan Kelantan one to be the same. Cannot. Already polygamy different. Polis kata polygamy okay. Kuala Lumpur kata you bawa you bini kata okay. Kat Perlis you bawa dulu. Ada pula Syahidan tu bagi hotel macam-macam untuk honeymoon. That's Islamic law, I said. You know, the way we interpret. So different. So I think this is the difficulty lah. And populism kah, you want to call missionary kah? I think practically speaking, theoretically you can separate all those as ideal type lah. But once you see them in operation, they are all tergumpal satu. They are not separated. Ada soalan lain?
Okay.
Tak apa, silakan.
Okay. Assalamualaikum, Prof.
Ya,
okay.
silakan.
Asmawadi Muhammad. Okay. I just have one question. In Malaysia, we have a lot of regulations, rules, and also rules, but we still have a problem in terms of smuggling, criminal cases. Okay. So, in point of government servant, can you give your opinion, your idea, how to strengthen our governments and our we call it to improve?
I have one answer. When you join economic faculty UKM or GSB, you don't teach underground economy. You don't teach how to operate underground economy, how it operates, how to understand. Not even that. But in the country reality, you can use Guan Eng punya statement, 31% of the economy is underground. So how do we educate our people about underground economy? Before we even can solve it, it's alive, thriving. Kalau dalam polis tu ada division D lah, division X, mantap apa, division macam-macam. Tapi duit betul timbul juga. Dalam almari dia 800,000 kat Melaka. Macam mana tu? So for me, it's not about regulation. Regulation is one thing. Regulation ni macam, they help us to organize ourselves and to know the boundaries. But there are bigger boundaries in this country that you have to be aware of, which is about underground and above ground economy. That's why when we talk about money laundering, we are talking about underground economy. Are we taught about underground economy? No, we are taught how to catch people of practicing underground economy. But you ask any lawyer, ask them what is underground economy, they wouldn't know. The same thing, I used to give lectures to the AG Chamber for new lawyers jadi kerajaan. They may know Federation of Malaya, they may know Federation of Malaysia kan. I said Malaysia ni ada 3 federation. Hey, dia kata macam mana pula 3, kita 2 je. The first federation in Malaysia is called Negeri Sembilan. The first confederation, 9 states of Negeri Sembilan, established in 1773. America has got its federation in 1776. We are 3 years older than American Federation. Tapi tak masuk buku sejarah lah. Orang Negeri Sembilan tak erti menulis. Historically. So, kalau benda macam tu dia orang pun tak tahu, dia lawyer kat Malaysia ni, can you imagine what do they know about underground economy? They don't know. They know when they are confronted with the case, evidence dan sebagainya. But do they really know? This is the other part that I always argue with AG's chambers. What do you do with orang buat research? Macam the police has got its division that looks after the underground economy. They are very efficient. I think custom also they have to know because they are going to deal with the people. But the underground economy has different way of operating. You don't even understand the logic of the underground economy. You have to begin to learn. You have to begin to ask. You have to begin to have courses on what is underground economy. Apa yang dimaksudkan dengan ekonomi bawah tanah, bagaimana. Kalau ada kursus tak ada masalah. Jangan pergi buat research nanti tak hidup nanti balik tak sempat nak siap tesis. Itu je saya punya amaran tu je. Sebab student saya ada yang buat tentang punk rock study di bawah Merdeka, dataran Merdeka tu banyak bawah tu dulu punk rock music kan. Ada. Kemudian ada student saya yang pergi duduk dengan orang miskin gelandangan dekat 6 bulan menulis mengenai itu macam mana asal usul dia. I can do that, but I don't dare to ask my student to study underground economy because they'll be buried underground. If not careful kan. Because there's no rule. The rule is simple. I trust you, you trust me. You don't trust, I lose trust, that's it. So the study of Yakuza and also in India has proven to us. So it is useful for policy purposes to look into this issue. You can't solve it. Because prostitution is always there and it's never legal except in some countries. So as long as it's not illegal, it's run by a particular group of people who are called underground economy people. Same thing berjudi. Berjudi 4 ekor ada, you pergi beli tiket. Tapi saya dulu buat research kat Kuala Selangor. Petang-petang lalu Cina buat motosikal sebelah pendek. Mau beli kan cik 20 mesin. Mana ada KK 4 digit 20 mesin, tapi dia boleh jual 20 mesin. Gelapnya lah. Lepas tu dia dapat menang 880. Datang duit tu dalam plastik RM880. Macam mana tu? Tak payah perjanjian, kontrak semua tak payah. Dia akan datang. Trust. So it's quite interesting. So not that we are not doing things. I must correct you. We are doing a lot of things. But there is a limitation. Within the structure that we construct our rules and regulation, there is a limitation. And those rules and regulation that operates underground is different. And we don't know. Sebab apa? Dia ada geng tu, geng ini. Macam-macam geng lah. Melayu pun ada gangster sekarang yang main. Saya tak tahu ini semua. Polis beritahu saya kan. Nak murid ramai. So, I always ask this question. Saya juga mengajar kat Ceras kan. So, I always all this silent question that I have, I will ask to them lah. Information. I don't want detail information. I want to know whether this thing exists in the country or not. Orang kata, gangster Melayu sekarang dah besar, kata dia. So dia urai lah structure dia, macam mana, siapa orang dia, ahli politik yang terlibat. Saya kata, ni luar biasa nampak lah. Kena buat thesis ni. Polis lah buat thesis, saya kata. Saya tak boleh, polis lah. Kau lah buat, saya kata. Kau register, kena minta IGP. Susah lah. Dulu saya ada seorang student, Haji Ramli, Datuk Haji Ramli, meninggal dia rasa. Dia tulis tentang police corruption. The first and the last time. Berdasarkan 174 fail polis yang dihukum berdapati bersalah corruption, termasuk daripada pangkat ASP sampai ke private, termasuk dalam trafik dan juga termasuk yang jaga mekanik, jaga jual tayar ni. Rupanya tayar tu pun sempat disapu, dia jaga tayar kan. So it's interesting for me to learn, not to go around point finger, oh you no good, no, that's not my job. But for me to learn about my society. It has its weaknesses, but it has its strength. So I can't say America is a clean society either. Otherwise, mana ada movie mafia kan? So we are always caught in that kind of society. In Chinese, the different clan has got its own underground operation. Itu sebab dia tak pernah risau tentang beasiswa dan scholarship, sebab they have their own beasiswa dan scholarship untuk anak-anak mereka. Kita ingat, kita berharap pada kerajaan, dia the different guild, society and the different clan group have got their own system, own management system, fantastic system. I have one of my staff who received 250,000 nearly from the government to do research on a particular clan, Chinese clan. Dia kena pergi ke China, jumpa all the family members. Because I said, we just can't study the Chinese about politics and economy. They have culture, they have society, they have organization. Their success in business, their success in their economy, their success in politics is based on a primordial relationship that they have. Primordial features that they have in the society. This is our primordial features. So I think this is where we are. So be aware there are those things, and the government is working very hard lah to control as much as it could, investing a lot of money on human resource. But human resource alone is not enough lah kan. I mean, laut tu luas, mana nak kejar laut tu kan? Pakai motorboat. Dia orang pakai speedboat, dia pakai motorboat, terhegeh-hegeh mengejar kat belakang. Saya bayangkan dulu saya buat research di Kuala Selangor, OCPD dia arwah Fuad nama dia, CPO Negeri Sembilan tu. Pergi dengan dia, naik bot. Samsul pernah tengok. Kita tengok ada 500 bot kecil-kecil. Yang mana satu nak tangkap ni, kata dia. Saya tanya, itu apa kau nak buat? Kau tak ada orang beritahu mana dia? Tahu, kata dia. Tu je jawab dia. Tu apa kau buat? Aku raung je lah tengok. Bagi tahu dia orang aku ada yang bawa orang yang ada. So it's just, it's understanding. There's also an understanding between this group and the law enforcers. You cannot deny that. They can only operate if the law enforcers, they have got some disagreement or agree to agree and agree to disagree. That time they agree. This is a more complicated relationship that we have to examine. Itu sebabnya bila buat undang-undang benda ni semua kena masuk buku lah. Kita kirakan, input kan. Tapi mana dia panggil sosiologi punya input. Dia panggil input ekonominya, berapa duit kena pakai bajet, itu je. So you can increase the number of people, it's okay. But the problem is the same. Itu saya punya reaksi lah. I think I've been asked a couple of times about this, especially maktab polis kan. They will ask this. So kita banyak undang-undang ni, Prof. Kita banyak undang. Cokai dulu, cokai anjing pun ada. Cokai basikal pun ada. Yang gaduh. Semua ada kat Malaysia ni. Enforcement lah isunya. Kau nak jadi pegawai basikal cokai anjing ke? Tak ada kan? So macam mana? We have all the rules. Yang British tinggalkan, melambat undang-undang ni. Kalau dalam pekan ni, dulu, excuse me, my example, dulu, tong tahi pun ada cokai. Saya kena angkat. Itulah tu, kalau zaman dulu, buang air jaga sikit, jamban dia berjalan. And that is it, cokai. Dekat pekan. Incredible, the British constructed a very elaborate tax system to finance that. So I learn from reading all those lah. I kata tengok, no wonder. Kalau tidak macam mana nak bayar gaji sultan ni? Dia income tak ada. Kan ada Terengganu sekarang ada minyak, perak biji dah tak ada, tapi dari segi gaji mungkin sultan perak memang banyak sekali. So benda-benda macam ni lah yang saya perhatikan. Any more question, please? Saya menunggu soalan wanita.
What do you think about our youngsters currently is less value and less criticism towards our country?
What value is that for whom?
To our country.
Okay, patriotism. Okay. First thing I ask people who ask about patriotism, ialah, you bayar cukai tak? That is the first question for patriotic people of this country. I ask first. Kalau you mengelak tak bayar cukai, berdirilah depan bendera, nyanyilah 20 kali, tak guna pada saya. Itu maksud saya. So patriotism is not only about showing and exhibiting your loyalty, but also in other forms. Macam tadi lah you punya tanya soalan rules kan. Do you follow this regulation? Do you respect this rule of law? Ni kan bila parking kata, tak ada polis, gasak je lah. So then we talk about integrity and all this stuff. So when I talk about patriotism, sociologically speaking, from dari sosiologinya bukanlah hanya simbolik. Patriotism is more than symbolic. How in a country we have a boundary, we have a rule of law, constitution, and citizenship. How does the citizenship obey the rule of law and operate within the bound of the country? And that's basically what patriotism is, beyond what we know popularly. Populist understanding of patriotism is different. So when I think about patriotism, itu sebab masa dulu BTN suruh saya mengajar. Saya tak boleh ajar benda ni. Aku tanya kau bayar cukai tak? Kata dia. So aku kata, macam mana kau nak suruh aku mengajar? Engkau bayar cukai pun tidak. Bayar, kata dia. Kau berapa? Tak tahu. Macam mana boleh tak tahu bayar cukai? So, I mean, it's a stupid, silly question lah, apparently. But actually, that's the first thing. Tarik benang kan. Keluar. Kerana buku benang tu sebuku besar. So, I think it's a very legitimate question you ask. It's just that there are many ways of looking at it, looking at patriotism. So, what I'm trying to stress to you is, how do you examine the nature of patriotism? And what form it is take? In official form, symbolic form, behavior form. So jadi in the popular social media, it's all the visual form lah. Bendera ke lagu, tak boleh lagu negara aku ke apa ke kan. But I think it's more than just that. It's more. Like for example, when I talk to my friend Teo Kok Siong, professor, I said, you selalu kata orang tak boleh bahasa Melayu, Cina dia banyak. Itu patriotism lah tu, kurang lah cakap. Kalau dia pandai bahasa Melayu, part of the reason why you become Malaysian citizen, you have to speak Malay. So ukuran saya, if you cannot speak Malay, how you become a Malaysian citizen? How can you show you are a Malaysian citizen? Kalau Amerika, you kena bercakap. Di Jerman kan, di Belanda kena cakap Jerman dan cakap Belanda. Tak boleh Dankeschön je. You have to speak German language and also Dutch. Oh, I tell you, Malaysia ni very relax lah sebenarnya. Very relax. Kalau dibandingkan dengan negara yang selalu kritik kita, macam Amerika, Human Rights Association kritik kita, kemudian secara Jerman kritik kita tentang ekologi, pasal dia ada Green Party. I tell you, they are worse than Malaysia in a way they have their rule and regulation. Dia lain pula, dia ada state, di Jerman tu state dia lain-lain kan, German state. Yang Frankfurt lain, yang Hanover punya city, the head of northern Germany, and they have their own cukai. And the university is run by the state, each state, negeri-negeri, bukannya oleh federal. Jadi negeri yang kaya, universiti banyak, negeri yang miskin tak ada. So it's menarik lah. So for me, patriotism is about understanding rule of law, about understanding citizenship, and also about knowing your boundary. Di mana you boleh bertindak dan tak boleh bertindak, apa yang you boleh buat dan tak boleh buat, siapa dia yang harus bekerjasama, warga negara Malaysia ke, warga negara luar ke. So that is the extreme way of looking at lah, but that is open up lah, dia terbuka bahawa kita berniaga dengan luar negeri pun patriotic juga, untuk menggalakkan industri di dalam negara kita. It's a very patriotic move. Because money can be put anywhere in the world, but why do you choose to have your money and invest here, where the likelihood of making profit is less than somewhere else? Why? Then you ask some of the Chinese businessmen. So I'm comfortable here. I said, why don't you invest in China? Oh, I don't know who are the crooks there. Not, you cannot assume everyone is not a crook lah in business. So it's quite interesting the way they explain. So there is an element, macam Pakistan lah. Pakistan is as a whole Chinese Malaysian ownership. Buka factory dekat China. But why they withdraw now? Because they got cheated all around. So dia kata, even in Malaysia, tak ada orang lain nak dia kata, mana nak, siapa nak nipu you? Melayu macam mana nipu nak buat baju, tak boleh. Kata. So dia kilang baju Melayu pun tak ada. Kata. Yang ada kilang baju Melayu dia kata. So pasal Pakistan jual baju Melayu tau. So it's interesting for me to understand how that patriotism is articulated in a different form. Tapi kita untuk anak-anak murid kita, untuk anak-anak kita ramai, mungkin langkah pertama itulah dia nyanyi dengan aku, kibah berniaga. But I think there's a lot more in patriotism than that. Any other question? Ya, silakan.
Assalamualaikum, Datuk. My name is Zulham Ali Akbar. I believe that based on your experience, you have your own view about leadership in the future in Malaysia. So, can you advise to especially young leader about the next future? Thank you, Datuk.
The leadership system in Malaysia, I have to make clear, when we are in a civil service, it's a different group of people. And for me, the most important leadership you have to watch is in civil service. Because whatever happened politically in the country, the civil service has proven again and again, twice, that they're able to run this country, even during those crisis, critical moment. So then you have to look at these people inside, at the quality of the people inside. Even though those who selected become KSU, KSN, Ketua Polis Negara and whatever, is still the federal government kononnya, tapi sebenarnya it's all up to the calon-calon juga. Kalau ada calon yang bagus, itulah calon dia. Kalau tidak, macam mana pun. Kita tak ada, mungkin interview ada, bincang ada, karakter, analisis semua ada. So, I think the most organized in terms of leadership development is in the civil service, even though people rubbish with the civil service, what they are doing. But I think, after seeing two government change, I only trust the civil service, I don't trust the political parties in many ways. Because they don't know. When they come in, they don't know. Jadi kena tutorial pula oleh civil service tu, mengenai how to run the government. This is from a first-hand information given to me, but so many of their pegawai khas, some of them my anak murid kan. So saya, apa yang kau buat ni? Dia saya nak pastikan ini. Tengok senarai allowance semua kan. Oh, saya kata, begitu ya. Bagus lah ni, besok aku jadi menteri lah. Kau siapkan senarai kau nak masuk menteri. Parti tak tahu lagi. That's interesting. So for me, when you talk, there is not a homogeneous leadership you are talking about. Please. The leadership has to be different component. So the first component in this country, I want to see the civil service component. Okay. Why? Again and again, they have proven they are the one the most successful. Whatever rubbish people say about them, fair enough. They want to criticize, go ahead. But they run the country, no doubt. Whether it's run by the AP, PAS, UMNO, MCA, MIC, they are there. Yeah? Okay, there was leakage before. Leakage now. It's leakage every time. So, question is, bocor ni bila-bila mau bocor, saya cakap, you know. So, kadang-kadang yang jadi ahli politik tu bukan kerajaan dulu. So, bocor ni susah lah istilahnya, saya kata. So, the most important thing, and then, people say political parties. Because people see cabinet position as leaders. Not really leaders, but the position in the cabinet as leaders. Why? Because they are protected by law. Benda-benda yang dicakap oleh menteri tak boleh buat mahkamah. You cannot bring to the court. Itu sebab menteri jadi raja kan. Itu yang raja pun marah kan, menteri jadi raja. Because they do have power. So that's why orang kata banyak sangat kementerian. Well, lagi banyak raja ni lagi bagus kot. I tak tahulah. Tapi artinya the leadership we are looking for is in who is going to occupy this ministry. So it's up to the political party of the day. So the leadership political party of the day cannot be decided and said that okay, this is the crop of the leader, this is not the leader, this party ini leader. Tak boleh kalau kita buat parti pejuang ini leader dia. Siapa nak percaya Mazli dengan so ni leader parti PAS ni, PAN ini. Pada saya you can have all those lists lah. But at the end of the day, once they become a minister, then we will prove whether it's a leader or not in the country. Because they come in power. Dia macam Superman. Tak Superman apa tu? Iron Man. Dia pakai benda tu, dia jadi Iron Man. Dia tak pakai tu, tak ada benda kan. So, I think our prime minister di country ni macam Iron Man lah. Dia kena pakai tu dulu baru dia merasakan dia punya power tu kan dan berpengaruh dia. Saya tengok Menteri Keuangan. Tukang Menteri Keuangan macam mana jadi? Dia tengok organisation Kementerian Keuangan. What they can do with the kementerian. 30 people hired as special officer and stuff. Incredible. Saya tak pernah dengar Tengku Razali buat itu, Najib buat itu, Mahathir buat begitu. Tak ada. So it's nothing. So that's how I see the leader. We have to look at it a little bit more closer and complicated. And then come the business. Lagi kita tak boleh. Tak boleh nak tahu. Dulu orang buat glove ni dengan buat kondom je. Sekarang dah ada COVID, langsung glove tu lambung-lambung naik. Daripada tak kaya dah jadi top 20 billionaire di Malaysia. Dua orang tukang buat glove tu top glove maker billionaire di Malaysia. Why? They market all over the world. So business ni kita tak tahu siapa leader dia. Dulu kalau zaman dulu siapa yang ada gangster, dia boleh jadi leader kan, sokong kalau dalam komuniti Cina. For me, it's not the gangster, it's the clan. The clan is the one that supports them, the guild. So, when you talk about Malaysian leadership, then you have to begin to apportion influence and also role in these different areas. Business sector is different, the political sector is different, and the government service, public sector is different. So, these leaderships are there. I don't think in the civil service, people tak nampak semua calon KSU, tak ada, KSN. They are not like that. Cuma kalau you ada council dalam KSU, saya tahu KSN dia nak pilih, misalnya dia buka Kementerian Perpaduan Nasional baru kan, the last time was in 1974, 46 years later they created Kementerian Perpaduan Negara balik. Jadi dia kena pilih KSU. Nak pilih KSU tu ada 5 orang ahli jawatankuasa difungsi oleh KSN. Jadi pilih this lady. Why? She was the only one who created kementerian yang mampu jadi KSU kepada satu kementerian baru, iaitu Kementerian Keusahawanan dulu. So, dia sukses of it. Keputusannya, kita ambil dia. Kita pun tak ada pengalaman tu kita. Interesting how the KSN says, kita pun tak ada pengalaman membangunkan satu kementerian baru. You have, so you going to. Dia kata, what do I know about perpaduan? You live in perpaduan Malaysia, you have to go and become the KSU. So, she's my good friend, I talk to her. How on earth you end up here? You have no background in. Tahu dah. Mana ada background? Saya cuma belajar dulu. Saya kata dia. I have to be very quick. So intelligence and quickness, ability to adapt. That is the value that our public service has. The top public servant kita ialah the ability to hit the ground running. Istilah Inggeris dia. Hit the ground running mean you jadi ketua je, you dah boleh memimpin, buat organize tu, organize ni, merapatkan hubungan dengan orang. Ini semua benda yang dianggap sebagai penting in civil service leadership yang saya tengok. How the people under you feel that you ni nak tengok je ke ataupun you truly, tapi jaga-jagalah, ada juga orang ambil kesempatan kan. So biasa lah. So anak pun 5 orang tu kata ada juga ambil kesempatan, ada yang sayang, ada kurangnya, begitulah lebih kurang. Tengok agi-agi kuih tu dah lain-lain kan. So saya menarik, saya tengok keluarga saya macam tu lah dulu. Agi-agi benda ni, ada pula yang favorite dan tak favorite kan. So it's interesting for me to see how human behavior is. And I think if you want to talk about Malaysian leadership, you have to analytically think that way. All these values and all these structures and all the features that you have learned, they are all important, but backgrounded by the Malaysian two features yang kita kena to get it embedded into the Malaysian. Acuan Malaysia lah, kata ringkasnya. Ya? Okay, any other question?
Prof, I guess that will be all because of the time constraint. So thank you very much, Prof. Dato. I think Prof. Dato deserve a very big hand from us.
Thank you.
And we have a special occasion for you, Dato. Actually, a token of appreciation from UKM-JSB. Okay. And on behalf of that, I would like to invite Dr. Wan Muhammad Hirwani to present you a token of appreciation from us.
Okay, terima kasih.
Okay, thank you again so very much to our distinguished professor, Dr. Shah. And I guess that will be all for our today leadership sharing sessions. And for those students that watching us online, and don't forget to scan your QR code for your attendance list. And with that, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and we see you again. Thank you very much.